They know your purchase history, your delivery address, your payment methods. Again, your VPN is worthless. Facebook and Meta, now this one it's one of the worst. Facebook doesn't just track you on Facebook. They have tracking pixels on millions of websites. Even if you're not logged in on Facebook, you're logged into Instagram or WhatsApp, or if you've ever used Facebook login on other sites, you're building a complete profile of everything you do online, VPN or not. Now we're gonna see where it gets really creepy. Let's say you use a VPN on your laptop, but you don't use one on your phone. You're logged into the same Google account on both devices. Google sees that john.smith.ohio@gmail.com browsed from Japan on that laptop, then 10 minutes later browsed from Ohio on your phone. They connect the dots instantly and know that the Japan traffic was actually coming from Ohio. Even if you somehow manage to log out of every single account, which would make the internet basically unusable, there's still another way you're being tracked that VPN can't protect against, and that's behavioral fingerprinting. This is tracking based on how you use the internet, not just what device you're using. So examples of browsing patterns would be: what websites do you visit and in what order? How long do you scroll on each page? How do you scroll? Fast, slow? Do you scroll to the bottom or just skim? How do you move your mouse? Everyone has a slightly different pattern. What time of day do you browse? Most people have consistent patterns. What do you search for? Even without knowing who you are, search patterns are often extremely unique. Sounds kind of ambiguous, right? Like, how could this do anything for your security? But let's say every day you check the weather, then Reddit, then YouTube, the same gaming sites, and then back to Reddit again. You do this in roughly the same order at roughly the same times with roughly the same browsing speed. Even if you use a VPN and clear all your cookies, this pattern is like a behavioral fingerprint that's uniquely yours. Companies use AI to analyze these patterns and say, user number 847291 is back, even though they don't know your name. But the moment you log into any account, they connect that behavioral pattern to your real identity and retroactively know everything that anonymous user did. So here's something that might blow your mind. Using a VPN might actually make you easier to track in some cases. I mean, let's think about it. What percentage of people actually use VPNs? Maybe 25% of internet users? And what percentage of those people use the same VPN service as you? Maybe 2 to 3% of all internet users? So when the website sees someone connecting from a known VPN server, they immediately know this person cares about privacy enough to pay for a VPN. That actually makes you more unique, not less. Plus, many VPN services use shared IP addresses, meaning hundreds of users appear to come from the same IP. Websites know this, so they work extra hard to use other methods like fingerprinting and account tracking, as mentioned, to separate those users. So think of it as like wearing a disguise that everyone knows is a disguise. It actually draws more attention to you. So maybe you think, well, I just use a free VPN. I don't pay for one. Let's talk about free VPNs because it's actually pretty scary. Remember, running a VPN service costs real money. They need servers all over the world to pay for internet bandwidth, and they have employees they need to pay. A good VPN service costs hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not millions, just to run. So when someone offers you a VPN for free, ask yourself, how are they paying for all of this? The answer is usually pretty simple. You're not the customer, you're the product. Free VPN companies make money by collecting your data and selling it to the highest bidder. You're literally paying them with your privacy to protect your privacy. But here's where it gets even more scary, because you trust them with your internet traffic. Free VPNs can see everything you do online, every website you visit, every search you make, every video you watch, every message you send, and they're recording it all to sell to data brokers. It's like hiring a bodyguard who secretly works for the people you want protection from, except worse, because this bodyguard follows you everywhere and takes notes on everything you do. And I do want to make something clear here. I'm not saying VPNs are completely useless. There are a few specific situations where they do actually help. First off, for public Wi-Fi protection, it's better than nothing. If you're at Starbucks or a hotel, a VPN adds encryption between your device and the coffee shop's router, for example. This stops other people on that same Wi-Fi from potentially snooping on your traffic. It also helps with bypassing location blocks. So if you want to watch a show that's only available in another country, a VPN can make it look like you're browsing from that country. It also can help with hiding activities from your internet provider. If you don't want Comcast to see what websites you're visiting, a VPN can hide that specific information. Also, some internet providers slow down certain types of traffic like streaming or gaming, so a VPN can sometimes help with this as well. But notice what's not on that list: becoming anonymous online, or stopping all tracking, or protecting your identity, because VPNs simply can't do those things when you're using the internet normally. At least not anymore with the way the internet is used in modern day. So if VPNs aren't the magic privacy solution they claim to be, what actually works? The real privacy protection happens in your browser. So you'll want to use browsers like Brave or Firefox with strict privacy settings that actually block fingerprinting attempts. You can install uBlock Origin. It's free and blocks way more tracking than any VPN ever could. You'll also want to use different browsers for different activities. For example, one for work and one for personal and one for shopping. I'm not talking separate tabs either, just different browsers. Consider using Tor browser for truly sensitive browsing, even though it's slow and breaks many websites. If you really care about your privacy, that's going to be the way to go. And think strategically about your accounts. The biggest privacy leak isn't your IP address, it's being logged in to accounts while you browse. Use different email addresses for different purposes, log out of accounts when you're not actively using them, and you could use private or incognito mode when you don't want websites to connect your browsing to your regular accounts. You'll also want to consider using different devices for different activities if privacy is really important. You'll also want to do your best to try and understand the ecosystem. Google sees you across millions of websites through analytics, ads, and Google Chrome. Facebook tracks you across millions of websites through their tracking pixels. Amazon tracks you across huge chunks of the internet through their web services. These companies all share data with each other and with data brokers. Just something to be aware of. The uncomfortable truth is ultimately you can't be completely anonymous online while still using the internet conveniently. Every convenience like auto login, personalized recommendation, saved passwords, location-based services requires giving up some level of privacy. And it's up to you to decide where you are comfortable and where you're not. So the real solution is going to be understanding the trade-offs. And here's what the VPN industry doesn't want you to understand. Privacy isn't like a light switch that's either on or off. It's more like a dimmer switch with lots of levels in between. So every time you use the internet conveniently, whether that's, staying logged into accounts or getting personalized recommendations, having websites remember your preferences, or, getting relevant search results, you are trading some privacy for that convenience. So ultimately, the goal isn't to achieve perfect anonymity, which is basically impossible if you actually want to use the internet normally. The goal is to understand what information you're sharing, who you're sharing it with, and make smart decisions about those and make smart decisions about those trade-offs. A recent survey found that 90% of people say online privacy is important to them, but most don't actually understand what privacy means in practice or what they're giving up to get the online experience that they want. So here's my advice. Stop looking for a single privacy, military-grade encryption, complete anonymity, total privacy protection. If you've been online for more than 5 minutes, you've probably seen ads like this, but here's the thing that might shock you. Almost everything they just promised you is either misleading or completely false. And I'm about to show you exactly why. What if I told you that using a VPN might actually give you less privacy than you think you have? So go ahead and stick around because we're about to take a nice little look into the VPN industry's biggest lies and, more importantly, what's really tracking you online in 2025. Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel, and today we're going to be switching things up a little bit and talk about something that affects every single one of us, and that's online privacy and security. Before we start, let me be clear, I'm not sponsored by any VPN company and I'm not trying to sell you anything. This is just the truth that the VPN industry doesn't want you to hear. And after this, I may never be sponsored by a VPN company. We'll see. But let's start with the basics. What is a VPN and what is it actually doing? Think of the internet like a postal system. Normally, when you want to visit a website, let's say YouTube, your request goes directly to your house. Goes directly from your house to YouTube servers. It's like mailing a letter with your return address on it. Your internet service provider, ISP, someone like Comcast or Verizon, can see that you sent a letter to YouTube and when you sent it and how big that envelope was. A VPN is like hiring a middleman postal service. Instead of mailing directly to YouTube, you put your letter inside another envelope and mail it to this middleman company in, say, Sweden. And that company then takes your letter out of your envelope, puts it into one of their own envelopes, and then mails it to YouTube for you. So now your internet service provider only sees that you sent something to Sweden. They can't see that you are actually trying to get to YouTube. That's literally it. That's all a VPN really does. But here's the crucial part. YouTube still gets your letter. That's all that matters, right? They still see what you're asking for. And the only difference is that instead of your letter coming from maybe your house in Ohio, it looks like it's actually coming from Sweden. Now, this simple mail forwarding service would cost maybe like $3 to $5 a month, right? And VPN companies also charge like $10 to $15 a month for a low-end one. And they make it sound like some kind of magical invisibility cloak. I mean, just listen to how they describe this basic service. Complete anonymity online, hide from hackers, government, and corporations, military-grade encryption protects your identity, and become invisible on the internet. But remember our postal analogy? You're not invisible, you just changed your return address. YouTube, or any website for that matter, still knows someone with your exact browser, your exact screen size, your exact computer setup visited their site. They just think that person lives in Sweden instead of Ohio. Doesn't sound too bad, right? Well, here's the problem. When researchers actually tested VPNs, they found that out of 16 VPN companies, either lied about what their service could do or made crazy exaggerated claims about protection they provide. Let's kind of break some of these claims down one by one. So first off, we'll talk about this military-grade encryption thing you see everywhere. This is probably the most misleading claim of all. There's not really any such thing as military-grade encryption. The military uses lots of different types of encryption for different things. So it's kind of like saying you have military grade vehicles. Like what? Are we talking about a Humvee, a tank, a bicycle? It doesn't mean anything specific. Most VPNs use something called AES 256 encryption. And yes, it's great encryption, but it's also the same encryption used by your banking app, your messaging apps, even your PlayStation when it downloads games. It's not special or exclusive. It's just standard good encryption that everyone uses. So when a VPN company says military grade, they're basically saying we use the same encryption as literally everyone else, but we're going to make it sound super special. All right, so here's where things get kind of weird. And this is what VPN companies hope you never find out. So remember how I said websites can still see your computer's details even when you use a VPN? Well, it turns out your computer tells websites a lot about itself automatically, and I mean a lot. So every time you visit a website, your browser automatically says stuff like, "Hi, I'm running on a Windows computer. My screen is exactly 1920 by 1080 pixels," or "I'm using Chrome version 91.0.4472.124. Or maybe "I have Arial, Times New Roman, and other specific fonts installed. My time zone is Eastern Standard Time. I can display graphics using this specific graphics card. My processor handles calculations in a particular way," but it actually gets even more specific than that. Websites can test how your computer draws things on screen. They'll ask your browser to draw a hidden image using something called canvas fingerprinting, and every computer draws it slightly differently based on the graphics card, the drivers, even tiny differences in how the processor works. So think of it as kind of like having a completely unique signature that you didn't even know you were writing. Let me give you a real example. Let's say you visit Amazon while using a VPN. Your IP address says you're in Sweden, but your browser says the following: 1920 by 1080 screen, only 22% of users have this exact resolution. Windows 11 with Chrome 91, maybe that's 15% of users. Eastern time zone. Wait, why is someone in Sweden on Eastern time? A very specific set of fonts that suggest an English Windows installation. A graphics card that renders images in a way that's common in North American builds. Now, let's pivot over to Amazon's tracking system, because it's going to look at all of this and it's going to say, this is probably that same person from Ohio who was here yesterday. They're just pretending to be in Sweden now. This is called digital fingerprinting. And here's the scary part. 89% of these digital fingerprints are completely unique. That means even if you're using a VPN to hide your location, websites can still identify your specific device with incredible accuracy. But wait, there's more, because it gets so much worse. Yay! Everything I told you about fingerprinting, yeah, that's actually the less serious privacy problem. The real privacy killer is something most people never actually think about: being logged into your accounts. I don't know about you, but I have a lot of accounts auto logged in on my browser. So with that in mind, picture this. You fire up your VPN to connect to a server in Japan to watch the newest fantastic anime. And you think to yourself, great, now I'm anonymous. Then you open your browser and boom, you're still logged into Gmail and Facebook and Amazon and Netflix and probably a dozen other accounts. Congratulations, you just told every single website exactly who you are, where you live, what you buy, who your friends are, and what you watch. Your VPN is essentially useless now. So let me walk you through exactly how this works. So Gmail, for example, you visit any website that has Google Analytics, which is about 85% of all websites. Even though your VPN says you're in Japan, that website immediately says that john.smith@gmail.com is browsing from Japan right now. Google connects this to every other website you visit. So your VPN hasn't actually hidden anything. For Amazon, you browse to any website that uses Amazon services, which includes a huge chunk of the internet. Amazon sees John Smith from 123 Main Street. Oh, you're browsing in Japan.